Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Luke, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Likewise. Let's jump straight into it. What's the story? What led you to build QC Growth?
Awesome. So my name's Luke Bivens. Started QC Growth about 4 years ago. My background is I've been a founding account executive, always working in startups. Have been that founding go-to-market account executive, first sales hire for 3 different startups and helped them do the 0 to 1 to 10 million, 20 million, ultimately getting acquired and helping build sales teams around that. So it was about 4 years ago. I saw a need for very technical founders of early stage startups to figure out go to market early. Had seen a lot of companies either hire too early or just not think about go to market early enough before it's too late. And so I kind of had my own thesis and idea of, could definitely help early stage founders. So started just myself, reaching out to a few venture capital firms, working with their portfolio companies, working with a few founders that I knew, and just doing it kind of consulting on my own on the side. And from there, it quickly grew into a real business, and it's gone for myself, brought on my brother who leads our operations and go-to-market engineering. And now we're about 20 people in total in the firm. So it's been a, fun journey. Feels like we're growing fast as well. So it's, enjoying every second of it.
What's the problem that you help solving? What is it that you help people achieve exactly?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we are helping either founders or early stage teams achieve is, we want to help step in as embedded operators to build the go-to-market infrastructure to help with distribution. So, we work with companies in all different verticals. So developer tools, AI software, deep tech, healthcare or digital health. And all of them, especially at the early stages, have the same need. It's how do we get our ICP or people to actually know that our product exists? And so what we are helping teams do is take that founder-led go-to-market motion that's usually pretty limited when it's just a founder trying to do outreach and talk to the right customers, pretty limited when they're doing it just themselves. We step in as without scaling or hiring headcount, we want to step in and help fill that whole top of funnel motion, create those learnings, build the infrastructure so that they can kind of get to the point where it's time to hire and grow the team.
So it's helping startups at different stages grow an effective sales team. Is that the idea? Or is there more to it?
Yeah, so it's anywhere from pre-seed company to Series A, and we're helping them build top of funnel pipeline in a sense. So how do we help them drive more revenue, land more meetings, but also build the whole infrastructure under that so that them as the founders can sit there and say, all right, what are the dials we need to turn to drive more pipeline? And then get them to the point where they can say, all right, the next thing we need is a CMO or a head of growth or a head of sales or a founding account executive. But we want to help build that underlying layer to help them take that founder-led sales motion to its breaking point.
So it's because go-to-market is so broad. So It's refining the ICP, understanding where the ICP is, building the acquisition channel, the marketing channel to get interest from those ICPs and to eventually book conversations, convert those conversations into deals, and then scale that.
Exactly. Yep.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah. Totally.
Fair enough. So pre-seeds to Series A, is there a specific industry where you see this working better than others? Who do you work with? Would be the question.
That's a great question. So my background and where we kind of made our start was in like the developer tools and open source space. Companies that specifically kind of selling to engineers, very technical products. We saw it work really well there. And then now we've been kind of catapulted into other verticals like health tech, like deep tech, traditional AI software now, and we have go-to-market leaders who have expertise in those spaces, who kind of run those engagements and work directly with the founders or the early stage teams as almost like a fractional or standing CRO, bringing strategy and execution, and then we have our whole operations and engineering team under that to help with like that execution layer.
I mean, now I'm just becoming curious. Do you build a unique solution per customer? Basically, if you have developers and engineers who will themselves build, yeah, a structure and infrastructure for a specific company, or is it just building the RevOps landscape and tech stack to make the go-to-market efficient? How does it
Yeah,
work?
so there's pieces that are replicable, and we've kind of seen that across the board. Like certain tech stack will kind of bring to the table, but like every industry will have its own nuances and certain tech that's kind of more catered to them. So like for developer tools, for example, like we have companies that live in the open source space. So using a tool called Rio, which can track open source usage, gather intent signals, bringing that all together is kind of like what our engineering team will help build the lead scoring model, and like making sure our outreach is hitting people at the right time based on all these intent signals. Same thing for healthcare. Like they have kind of their own nuances and like space that they go after as well. So there's definitely things that we can kind of pick up and take to other verticals, and that's like kind of what we've realized is if we have a go-to-market leader that understands the space and has the experience of scaling companies in that space, they can kind of direct our ops team and the engine that we've built to help these companies grow.
Love it. The $1 million question, Luke. Literally. How do you market? How do you brand? How do you get the interest from the pre-seed to Series A startups who understand that having a technical founder is amazing because there is tons of value in there and you want the product to sell itself. But when you want to scale and accelerate that growth, you want a proper go-to-market team or infrastructure. So long-winded question.
Mhm.
What has worked for you to market and brands in front of those right people?
Yeah. And we've tested a lot of different things. I'd say one marketing model, like in our model from day one when I first started the business, was work with venture capital firms, become really tied in there, and do right by their portfolio companies when they find a company in their portfolio that needs go to market help or just wants to chat about go to market. They introduce us there, and so it's been heavy referral based on that front. And then same, like once we start working with the founder, they always are opening up their network to other founders that they know could use the help on the go to market side. Um, on the market, like our model as far as growth goes is growing that venture capital firm base. So like we work with probably around 60 different venture capital firms now, and do different things for them. And each one kind of has their own focus as far as verticals go. But as far as our marketing, like there's a internal VC newsletter that I write about maybe once or twice a month. I'll kind of share what we're seeing on the front lines, with all of our different startups, and share those go-to-market learnings to our whole VC group. But what we also do is we try to bubble up companies that we're working with and companies that we're talking to that could be interesting for them to invest in. And so we're almost driving pipeline for them on that front as well. So I'd say that's our biggest marketing channel to date. And then, we try to write good content as much as possible as well. But a lot of it to this point has been referral based, and then my own, kind of personal outreach, just to companies that kind of fit our mold.
It's funny. It almost feels like the business will come from the VCs that invest in the startups more than the startups themselves. Is that correct? Like they pull you in because they know, oh, Luke got great results with that other company that we invested in. we just invested whatever 10 million in this one in Series A. We want someone to take care of go-to-market. Guys, you should check out Luke. Is that how it works?
Yeah, yep. That's where a lot of our business comes from, for sure. And I think like the reason it works well is, you know, hiring someone on go-to-market. It's usually a pretty volatile hire. So founding account executives, CROs, VPs of sales, at the very early stages, it's very hard to find like that perfect unicorn, because you need someone that can bring strategy. You need a true operator as well, and someone that's going to get their hands dirty. And so if a VC is able to kind of see that path within a company, they can bring us in and say, hey, QC can help you kind of build the right infrastructure so that, one, you can start driving revenue as quickly as possible and reduce burn, but also make sure whoever you do bring on full time has a better chance of success.
Where does QC come from?
Funny. So we live in Cincinnati, Ohio now.
Okay.
But when I first started QC, we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
And randomly, both Charlotte and Cincinnati are nicknamed the Queen City. And
Okay.
so, yeah, knew we would be ending up probably back in Cincinnati at some point. So QC just made sense.
Fair enough. The thing that was, so I don't know why it just popped in my head right now. It was, oh, shoot, I need to review this quality checklist. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, right? QC, is that linked to, we make sure that we check but no, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, there's been a few people on our team who have been with us for a while, and then they actually asked the question, and they're like, oh, I thought it meant like quality control.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense for a compliance-focused firm, but go-to-market much less. But I like the Queen City. I like the Queen City history. Complete tangent here. So, okay, makes sense. I mean, now I'm just curious about it. Do you feel that most of your efforts in marketing and branding should be directed towards those VC firms, or it should be directed towards the end customer, which is the startup? The reason I'm asking this is, in many cases, and we've seen this on the show and obviously other sources, coaches, consultants, professional service firms, recruiters, sometimes even, their biggest source of business, or should I say, the highest return on investment on their time and sometimes money, is not actually going to the person who's gonna buy, but the person who's gonna strongly recommend to buy. For you, do you feel that most of the marketing effort should be focused on getting in front of the VCs, make you the go-to choice for them to recommend? Or we should have this holistic approach of like, hey, if you're, the technical founder that just got funded, you want to check us out. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's funny. We're actually kind of going through some like website changes now, and I like the way I kind of view it is it should be directed more towards the founders of companies. Like we work with a ton of companies that come out of Y Combinator. A lot of companies on our portfolio page come from there as well. And I think for the VC side of it, it doesn't make as much sense to market to them, because they aren't usually a VC firm is not going out searching for go-to-market advisory and then they're just going to bring in someone random. It's more, a VC firm wants someone that's super vetted, super trusted. And so there's more of a personal relationship there. That's why I feel like our little private VC email that we do to our VC network is kind of more on like, that's our marketing towards them, but it's also, we want to support them, showing them what's working on the front line so that they can take it back to their firms and just keep us top of mind. But ideally on the marketing side, website, branding, copy, whatever you want to call it, it should be to the founders and speaking directly to them when they come to the site, and shows like we are like that solution that helps them get to the next level of growth.
Makes a lot of sense. Talk to me about go-to-market. How do you tie this outreach, this brand, those referrals, the websites, the relationships with the VCs to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, letter of engagement, we rock and roll? What does sales motion you look like in the world of Queen City?
Yeah.
Queen City Flow.
Yeah. So So my role essentially now is like I'm a account executive for our business. I work with our VCs and I am talking to the founders and companies that we're selling into. And so I'm managing pipeline as if I was an AE, which is like that's what I love doing. That's like to my core what I do. And so it's kind of twofold. It's either one, we get an intro from a VC or one of our previous founders that we're working with, and we'll get on one call with the company and they'll say, hey, can we start tomorrow? And there's really no sales cycle just because it's so, they had someone recommend us, it's a dire need, we hop in and help. And then there's others where it comes from like my cold outbound that I'm doing to companies, and that could be, they're connected to someone in our network. I kind of know what our ICP is, so like they're technical founders, they just raise funding, whatever that looks like. And then sometimes like that initial conversation takes 6 months just to kind of keep them nurtured, keep them through that flow. But it's funny, like you can kind of tell when we get our first conversation with a company, you can tell when it's too early, but you almost need these founders or these teams to go through the hard times themselves to realize they need a partner like us to come in. And so that's where usually the longer deal cycle comes in, is like we have a really good first conversation, but then they want to get their feet wet or make a hire or test it out themselves. And then when they come back, and I'm not saying this happens all the time, but a lot of times we'll get an email 6 months later and it's like, hey, can we start tomorrow? It's time, like we've wasted time, we're ready to like really think about this. Or maybe they're not there product wise and they want to spend this next sprint cycle on product or things like that. And so we kind of wait on that front. But yeah, long-winded answer to say either it happens in a day or it takes a little bit of time of nurturing.
Tell me about long sales cycles. Do you recruit the staff at some point as well? Like, do you build a sales team for those companies, or does it stop at? I'm just trying to think about retention and what happens next, right? You come in, you build the infrastructure, you implement the tech stack, you potentially find and place and recruit or help find a CMO. But then what? Like, is it just up to the next clients? Do you have some retention mechanism? And here, obviously, I'm not asking in the sense of how do we get the most out of each client, but more how do we solve the next problem and the next problem and the next problem so that we keep the relationship. How does it work at QC Group?
Yeah. So like one model is like we always when it's time to like make that first hire, we want to be supportive in that. And so like we have recruiters on our team that can step in, help them fill that really quickly. And like we see that as really valuable because then when they hire that person, and let's say it's founders are hiring their first sales hire, first account executive, whatever it looks like, we can actually help onboard that person, take that off the founder's plate and get them ingrained with our infrastructure, all the learnings, the data, all of those certain things. So we have a lot of scenarios where we're with a company from pre-seed or seed all the way to like series B. And we're helping them kind of scale, hire that team. And then we still stay on as like the strategic, could be outbound, could be go-to-market engineering, could be working with marketing on event strategy. The problem, like we're just kind of like things will change, but we usually see it as very successful if we're with a company 8+ months, because then we can help them graduate into whatever that next phase could look like.
Love that for us. I like your style, Luke. Obviously, I mean, go-to-market, marketing, sales. Not that I know everything about it, far from it, but I like it. Let me throw a little bit of a curveball question at you, if you don't mind. What is your number one challenge right now? What is the one nut that you're trying to crack at QC Growth that once you crack, you take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
That's a great question. I think for us in our model, and I'm sure a lot of professional service firms kind of think about this, like when I first started, kind of hit a point quickly of like, you can only do so much as an individual. How do I scale the team and scale the team the right way so I'm not working in the business and I can work on the business? Like a lot of people I'm sure on this have talked about that. but we've done a really good job of like scaling our team in a way where we start them as contractors. We, you know, kind of like get them a part of the team, crawl, walk, run in a sense. And then we've started bringing people on full time. And we have a really, really talented team, really good culture, but always like the biggest challenge for us is how do you continue staffing with like this top 1% of talent, but also, you know, keep up with the demand as well. So, you know, we don't want to stretch our team too thin, but we also don't want to bring people on full time when we don't have the, you know, maybe it's not an influx of companies that are coming our way.
Yeah.
And it's not always consistent. Like this week we had founders that we've been speaking to for 4 months come back and say, hey, we're ready to go next week. And so you want to make sure you have the bench and the resources to really make sure we do that the right way. So it's always this weird balancing act of helping with growth, helping with staffing, and doing it the right way.
That is the everlasting problem of professional service firms. Okay,
Yeah.
we nail demands, now we need to nail supply. Okay, we staffed up, but now we have people on the bench, we need to increase demand, and back and forth. And solving this problem back and forth is how you grow a firm. I mean, I don't know any other way around it.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, what is, some of the big opportunities that you're looking forward to work on? What is exciting for you in the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 months?
I think, yeah, for us, we've kind of seen like the huge value in the bit, especially with all like the tools and, the way that go to market is kind of trending with AI and everything that we have
Oh yeah.
that is accessible. What we've seen and what we like to say is like, we've tested and tried a lot of these different tools, and we get to be kind of on the forefront of testing them with our startups, seeing what really works, seeing like the right balance of human and AI and bringing it all together.
Yeah.
And so I think like the next phase for us and like what we've seen the biggest value in our business is like this operating system that we help build for companies that helps them set them up to be agentic, but also scale in a lean way. I think our biggest opportunity is to continue kind of marketing that function, but also continue to optimize it as well so that we can continue to scale in a very lean way, but still be on the forefront of where all of this is going. Um, and yeah, and I mean, there's been a lot of growth in the last few months for us as well in these newer verticals like healthcare, deep tech as well. And so expanding our VC network there and expanding like our startup list of companies in those spaces is real exciting as well.
It's so funny. I see obviously the cost to build code has drastically gone down, which means much more people can build solutions.
Yep.
I see a new go-to-market solution every day, basically, between LinkedIn, newsletters. It's insane. And I think it's true for any industry, really. What's funny, though, is that, and I'm talking to a client who's huge on LinkedIn, and he's like, yeah, I asked him, like, Paul, what's the like percentage of bots versus real people engaging with your post now, you think, like commenting? And he's like, I think it's 20 to 30% human. I'm like, wow. So a vast majority of people are now just engaging with bots.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. And everybody sees it. And you can feel it, right? No one talks like that. And it's so funny because as AI go-to-market solution come up, I see more and more people going back to how do we build genuine, not scalable relationships?
Yeah.
How do we have conversations? And AI will 100% help us do this. Like, I believe in it. But it's funny to see what is noise and like latest AI buzzword versus what actually helps a Series A that needs to go to market, that needs to market heavily, have conversations with people they can help.
Yep.
So very interesting times indeed. What are
Oh
your
yeah.
thoughts on this?
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I feel like where we kind of live is like we use AI to help bubble up the right companies for you to reach out to. But everyone needs to have their voice in reaching out, because everyone can everyone knows what AI slop is now. And our biggest like red flag and thing that it bothers me so much is like when we have founders that think content is just this AI driven message that they fed it and they didn't really get any sort of voice on it, because there's no differentiation between what everyone else is doing now. And so it is like, how do we bring the human component back into everything that we're doing on the go-to-market side, and where AI really has helped us kind of scale things and scale things for companies is like the operations side of it, of allowing us to make sure the things that we're doing on like the human side, we're doing it to the right people at the right time.
Luke Bivens, ladies and gentlemen. Luke, this was an absolute masterclass on go-to-market and sales. Thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast. If people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Yeah, pretty simply. I'm obviously on LinkedIn, but my email is luke@qcgrowth.com, and you can always go to qcgrowth.com as well and reach out there.
We will put the links in the description. What I can say for sure is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview, Luke. Me, I just added you. Thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was fun.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.